It's just a normal afternoon. You know, the kind where everything feels pretty standard. Maybe you're sitting outside, coffee in hand, just kind of zoning out while the neighborhood hums along. The yard is usually alive, right? Cockatoos screaming from the trees, bickering over branches, just making that sharp, classic racket. And then everything stops. In less than 3 seconds, the whole world just goes quiet. No tapering off, no gradual fading out, just a wall of silence where all that noise used to be. You look up. The birds are still there. You can see those white feathers against the blue sky, but they've gone totally, weirdly still. And suddenly, your gut feels a bit strange. Not because anything visible shifted, but because they did. Here's the thing most of us do in that moment. We start scanning the sky for a hawk. We check the fence line for a cat. We look for the obvious threat, find nothing, and just go back to our coffee. Honestly, that's the wrong move. Because whatever just happened had nothing to do with what you can see. And the Cockatoos? They already knew it. They've basically been waiting to see if you'd catch on. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We spend our whole lives thinking we're the ones watching the birds. You know, like we're the observers, checking out their behavior from the outside. But from the Cockatoo's point of view, you aren't an observer. You're just part of the landscape. Your data. Every time you step into that yard, you're logging into their system. Your height, how you move, the rhythm of your walk, how often you look up. You're just a familiar variable in a system they're constantly monitoring. When they go quiet, it's not panic. It's not really fear in the way we usually mean it. It's something way more calculated, like a collective system pause. Imagine a network going offline for a second to run a diagnostic. Every single bird stops broadcasting and starts receiving. They're just listening, processing. Scientists call it an anti-predator vigilance state, but that label feels way too simple. It's not just about watching for a cat in the bushes. They're actually triangulating an environmental shift, something that hasn't hit your awareness yet, but is already fully present in theirs. The silence isn't the response to a threat. The silence is the threat assessment. And the weirdest part? You've been standing right in the middle of it the whole time. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Cockatoos have hollow bones, and they aren't just for making flight easier. They're acoustically sensitive in ways solid bone just can't be. They basically function like tuning forks. Low-frequency vibrations travel through the ground and the air, and they hit those bones long before you'd ever hear a thing. On top of that, their inner ears are tuned to infrasound those frequencies way below our range, like 20 hertz. It's the kind of sound big weather systems make as they move across a continent, or seismic shifts, or even just the pressure waves rolling ahead of a storm that's still 60 miles away. When the barometric pressure starts to drop, even just a little, you see this measurable shift in how the birds act, way before the weather actually turns. It can be 15 minutes. It can be hours ahead of time. Researchers have watched cockatoos change where they roost, go totally quiet, or start clustering for flight, long before any of our fancy equipment even registers a change. Just think about that for a second. The storm hasn't even formed yet. No clouds, no wind shift, nothing. But these birds? They're already reading the signature of what's coming. It's written in frequencies we can't hear, pressures we can't feel, and micro vibrations we've never even learned to notice. Your barometer sits on a wall. Theirs? It's built right into their skeleton. But here's the part nobody tells you. And honestly, this is where it gets personal. The cockatoos in your yard aren't just tracking the weather. They're tracking you. Over weeks or months, a flock hanging around your yard starts to build a real behavioral profile of everyone who moves through that space. And it's not just some vague, instinctive thing. It's specific. It's categorized. Researchers studying how parrots and corvids think have found that these birds actually assign what you could call trust tiers to individual humans, all based on what they've observed over time. You know, you actually have a signature in how you walk. It's in your footfall, the way you might wander or stick to a straight line. It's even how you speed up when you're walking toward the trees versus walking away. Do you carry things? Is your pace the same every single day? When your routine is solid, same time, same speed, you just sort of blend in. You become a neutral element in their map. You're basically background noise to them, and that's a safe place to be. But the second you change that pattern, you stop being background. Walk out a little faster than usual. Show up at an odd hour. Move erratically. Suddenly, you're flagged. Not necessarily as a threat, but as an anomaly, an unknown variable in a system that thrives on predictability. And here's the thing about a cockatoo's world. Anomalies don't get the benefit of the doubt. They get silence. Total, still, absolute silence. Now flip that. What if you've been showing up in that yard for ages, calm, unhurried, just existing, and they still go quiet when you walk out? That silence isn't about you. That silence is telling you that something else in the environment shifted, something even your presence can't fix. And this is where it gets really interesting. That silence isn't passive. It's actually communicative. When a flock of cockatoos goes dead still, they're doing something researchers call environmental pinging. It's like they're broadcasting the signal that says, "We've detected something." We're listening. Are you? And honestly, they're watching your response to that silence. If you freeze and look around with them, you register as perceptive. Over time, that changes how they treat you. They become a little less reactive when you're around because you've basically shown them you're tapped into the same network they are. You've become a reliable part of their landscape. But if you ignore that silence, if you just keep walking toward them like nothing happened, you register as oblivious. And in nature, being oblivious means you're unpredictable. And unpredictable things are, by default, a threat. This isn't just me anthropomorphizing them either. This is documented, reciprocal behavior. The idea is that their vigilance system creates this feedback loop with everything around them. Whether you realize it or not, you're either a participant in that loop or just noise. The birds aren't just sensing the world, they're testing to see if you can sense it with them. So, zoom out for a second. Think about the mental power needed to pull that off. A cockatoo isn't just looking at your yard, they're keeping a living map of it. Every tree is a data point. Every feeding zone has a risk rating. Every path to a roost is weighted by what they've learned. Your house is in that map. You are in that map. Every time you've walked out that back door, you've added a data point. Every time you've been predictable, you've confirmed your status as safe. Every time you've surprised them, moved too fast, made a weird noise, changed your routine, you've updated your entry. They aren't just birds hanging out in your yard, they're cartographers. And I'd bet they've mapped your property in way more detail than you ever have. Just imagine for a second what it would actually feel like to live with that level of awareness. See, to them, every single sound is a variable. Every bit of silence, that's a data point. The pressure shifting behind a cloud is just as readable as the shape of it. They hear footsteps 3 houses over way before anyone shows up. That low hum of a coming storm? It's not a guess. It's as obvious to them as the smell of rain is to us, only they're picking it up hours before it hits. Honestly, we kind of traded that high-def sensory resolution for complexity. We chose language, abstract thinking, the ability to build cities and write scripts like this. But somewhere in that trade, we just stopped reading the frequencies that animals never really stopped reading. When you see cockatoos go quiet, they aren't just hiding in fear. It's like they're ascending into this higher state of attention, one that our own nervous systems used to know, but we've mostly just forgotten. They're living in this continuous, high-fidelity relationship with their world. Next to them, our own perception, it's basically just a rough sketch of the reality they're reading in full detail. So, the next time your yard goes dead silent, you know, that moment when every bird freezes mid-call and the air just collapses into this total stillness, don't bother looking for the hawk. Look at the birds. Try to get still with them. Let that silence land on you like it's information, not just an absence of noise. Because in that moment, they're kind of extending an invitation. It's a brief window into a layer of reality that's been sitting right there, just below what you usually notice. Think about it. They've been watching you long enough to know your schedule, your patterns, exactly where you fit on their map. When they pause, when they hold the entire neighborhood in that collective breath, they're sharing something with you. The real question is, are you paying enough attention to receive it? Have you ever noticed your local birds go totally quiet right before something shifted? Maybe a storm, or a stray animal, or even something going on inside your own house? I'm really curious, what kind of timing have you noticed? Let me know in the comments. I have a feeling some of you have been picking up on this way more than you even realized.